Hello, everybody. What is up? My name is Graham Elwood. You're watching the Bitcoin Vigilante. I'm traveling. This is the exciting background of my Airbnb here in Bangkok, Thailand. And for some reason, the virtual background on StreamYard is not working. So you get to see this amazing kitchen. It's really fantastic. They're doing great work. We got a fantastic show today. So like, share, subscribe, send this out on your social media. We're going to be bringing on in just a second the co-founder of Bitcoin IRA, which is something that I personally use. And he's going to go on and explain what that is and how I think it's an awesome thing. Obviously, Bitcoin, I'm a huge Bitcoiner. I'm telling everybody, I've been talking about it for several years. Let's just check the price right now. We hit a new all-time high of 126. And now we're at about, what are we at here? We're at just coming in at an all-time high 125. There was a little bit of a pullback. And then I haven't been monitoring the price but what are we at? We're at right at 121, a little bit of a pullback, but if 121K is crashing, then that's a world I'm living in. That's a world I'm excited about. See some folks in the chat. Like, share, subscribe, share this out. We're streaming this on my YouTube channel, the Graham Elwood one. We have about 69,000 subscribers, and the new channel Bitcoin Hollywood, and of course we're streaming over on Rockfin. So get your comments and questions ready. Put them in the chat, and let us bring on our guest for today's show, co-founder of the Bitcoin IRA investment. Chris, how are you, my friend?
Oh, wonderful. How about you, Graham? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. See, you've got a nice, I've got to get that kind of a cool background with that. That
I got a good media team. They take good care of me, man.
So
I'm also not at an Airbnb on vacation. Like, I'm at home. So.
I know it's a quality problem that my virtual background doesn't work while I'm on vacation. So my first question I always ask, because I obviously love this is like a Batman themed YouTube show. I love people's origin stories. And before we get into the Bitcoin IRA, I love the reason why people get into Bitcoin is usually very interesting and unique, and everybody has some sort of story about it. So give us your origin story. What got you into Bitcoin? What happened? And then walk us through the journey to creating the Bitcoin IRA.
So I was already in the retirement space about 13 years ago. I was doing real estate IRAs, precious metals IRAs, LLC IRAs, private equity IRAs. And it came across my desk. It's like, could you put Bitcoin in one of these? And this was 2015. And I was like, what's Bitcoin? And I'll be honest here, like I didn't know at that point in time. I was so hyper focused on everything else I was working on. I was ignoring basically the revolution of monetary policy. And then once I got down the rabbit hole, you ask, what's the reason? Having like that's the reason why I love Bitcoin. I live for Bitcoin. I die for Bitcoin. And because I grew up, I was born in 1985 in Aurora, Colorado, and I've watched us just abuse the U.S. dollar for 40 years. I just turned 40 last year, or earlier this year. I've watched us just abuse the U.S. dollar for years, and I'm like, why is things so expensive? Because we just print more money. And when I went down the rabbit hole of the white paper for Bitcoin, I'm like, halving makes sense. At the end of the day, right? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you're going to, in essence, punish the producers, right? Like, you're saying you make more Bitcoin and you get less reward for it. And in the world of US dollars, you make more US dollars and the reward is basically re-elections. Like, that's kind of where we're at for the last 25, 30 years, right? So to me, like, I saw it, I tasted it, I read the white paper, and when I hit halving and understood the concept of halving, I was like, oh, this is my bread and butter now. I love this.
It's so funny. Like, there's always some aspect of Bitcoin that, for some people it's the halving, like and for those of you who are watching the show who might not know, just to most people know who watch the show, but for those who don't, every 4 years, the supply that the miners can create gets cut in half. So they built in Satoshi, built in scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million made. And usually it's that. For some people, it's I can own this stuff in cold storage, and the government can't come in and seize it. There's a lot of the privacy issue, the I don't trust the government issue for a lot of Bitcoiners. But the halving and the scarcity is a really important thing. And so you're already working for IRAs, which is individual retirement account products. For those I know there's people watching from other countries that might not have these or know exactly what this means when we talk about it. And then the white paper clicked for you. And then, as you said, that's another thing. We all kind of look around and went, especially for me, it was the 2008 housing crisis, and seeing how, when all of the sort of books and documentaries started coming out in 2010, 2011, showing like, oh, both parties are bought and paid for, like everyone's, like you say,
everybody was guilty. Everybody was guilty for 2008. And also, I mean, so I always say I was a junior in high school when the towers fell. I was a graduate of college in 2007, 2008 when the house was burned. And then once I finally started building a company, I had to endure COVID, and that was like exponential growth of monetary supply. So like, I'm like the perfect generation to say, I think I like Bitcoin. Like, it just makes sense to me,
Yeah. I mean, because those are like critical moments in a person's life, high school, college, and these giant, earth-shattering things are happening. So let's get into that. So that was sort of your personal timeline, seeing 9/11, seeing, the 2008 housing crash, reading the white paper, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we can create this product. And so what was that journey like? What was, and tell us how you've kind of set that up, because it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm just real quick. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is I heard about these Bitcoin IRAs several years ago, and I had 2 US dollar IRAs. Okay. And I said, all right, I'm going to test this. I'm going to put one in Bitcoin, and we all know what happened. This was just 2 years ago. My Bitcoin IRA has doubled in value. My US dollar IRA had made about $3. And I was like, okay, so that ended that. And then I brought the other one over. Now it's all Bitcoin.
I live by, was it Biggie or Tupac that says, don't get high on your own supply. Right. So for early years, I was building this business, but I was also doing the same thing you were doing, Graham, was, index funds, S&Ps, maybe the Russell 2000, those things that we're told historically will outperform everything else in the market. And then I started looking at the math, and I'm like, oh man, did I miss out? But Bitcoin's not for the faint of heart either, right? So I've been in this since 2015. So I'm just about a decade into this. I had no gray hair when I started, just so you guys know. I also didn't have now a 10-year-old daughter who's behind the camera, by the way. She's controlling the camera today because my videographer's out of town. But I didn't have these ebbs and flows of the business. So it's really a long-term hodl at the end of the day. So when I saw these runs, and then these bear markets, if you're thinking retirement, and I know a lot of your audience is outside of America too, right? But if you're thinking retirement, you're thinking 10, 20, 30 years. And that's where, if you just put something aside and you hold on to it long enough, you're going to be happy with it. And within the United States, for the American listeners, if you put it into a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, you get a tax advantage component that helps you save money on taxes for your long-term investing practices. So that kind of just clicked for me. I'm like, okay, you got a product that our first client was actually, this is crazy, I'm not lying, was the former director of the U.S. Mint, Edmund C. Moy. He's a good friend of mine. and he wanted to be the first, I know, it's crazy. He wanted to be the first guy to have Bitcoin in his retirement account. I'm like, okay, sounds good, Ed. Of course, we'll set you up. And he got in around like $175, $200 of Bitcoin back then. So that was 10 years ago. And he's never touched it. He's never moved on. But I started thinking, I'm like, man, you're talking about a guy that's basically in charge of the mint, which the mint makes gold coins, silver coins, US dollars, all these things, right? And during 2000, 2007, 2008, you're creating arguably at that point the most amount of US dollars ever in circulation. And he was like, I want hard money. And he already had gold and silver, and he wanted Bitcoin. And that's when I was like, oh man, we're onto something here. Something special here. But that's the journey of Bitcoin for everybody is so exciting, right? We launched it, and it was like they say, what, a tree falls in the woods, and if there's nobody to hear it, doesn't make a sound. It was kind of like the beginning. We had a lot of engine nerds. We have Rocket Ron, which is our 11th client that I honestly text with more than I text with my wife or my kid. He texts me every morning, all-time highs, whatever's going on. We text constantly. And so you have those kind of clients that we had early on, and it was like, okay, there's something here. And then the market went nuts, right? 2017. I remember my favorite meme was the dad at Thanksgiving dinner was like, hey, what's this Coinbase thing? And then by Christmas, he was like, it's all your fault that I didn't buy something, right? Because it went from like 7,000 to 20,000. And then what happened in January in 18, it fell back to 6,500. And so we've just kind of, as a business, we've endured those ebbs and flows and built a really great product for our clients. Because the one thing in retirement savings, if you're holding real estate, precious metals, even stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever it might be, you're not asking for 24/7 attention, right? You don't need a product that it will feed you what you need 24/7. So from the very beginning, we knew there was a new standard for us, and we had to build the new standard, which is you can get on your phone, you can get on your laptop, you can do whatever you need to whenever you want to do it, whether it's Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day is coming up, Jesus's birthday, Christmas is coming up, Thanksgiving's coming up. These are all holidays that the rest of the world takes off. Bitcoin does not take a holiday. No. It doesn't take your birthday off, does it, Graham?
No, it does. No, it has not. It's not taken my birthday off, not once. Well, that's such a great point too, because I think why the Bitcoin IRA is becoming so popular is because, first of all, there's just people who, if I didn't know anything about Bitcoin and I was just watching my fiat and my Bitcoin IRA perform, I'd go, wow, I already was a Bitcoiner. Like I already was like in it. But so there's those folks who are just like, I don't know what this is, but I'll put a little, I'm because we've had these new all-time, this consistency over 100K. And I'm getting more friends of mine who are like, hey, what's that thing, that Bitcoin thing you're always talking about?
Wait till it hits 150K before Christmas.
Oh, dude. We'll get into that in a second.
Phone numbers. You're going to have to start blocking phone numbers.
So you're going to have a lot of new friends.
Well, just so you know, Graham, I was on Bloomberg in April. April 7th to be specific, and I said Bitcoin at this point was 67,000, and I had the chutzpah or the brass balls to say 180K by Christmas Day, and this was back in April, and we're right around. We hit 126. It's going to take a little bit more of scarcity and the halving effect, but we're gonna hit 130, 140. That runs us to 150. I wouldn't be surprised by New Year's that we're tapping on 180, 200,000. And I'm not the only person. Scaramucci, Charlie Lee, all these guys are all saying the same thing. Michael Saylor, we're looking at this as, okay, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. In the time, we've only been on this podcast for about 15 minutes, and the Federal Reserve has probably printed $21 million in that short time period. And you and I won't even live to see all the Bitcoin that's created. It's 21, I think they say 2145 is like the idea of when the last Bitcoin will be mined. So I won't live that far. You won't live that far. My daughter, maybe if she like really lives a long time, maybe my granddaughter, when she's born, or grandson. But so that's a paradigm shift, right? That's the thing that people don't understand. This is a paradigm shift of the understanding of monetary policy. And we're also in this world right now. I love that I can talk about things live because this is a live event. So I'm going to talk about like topical events. We're at a point right now where this government is shutting down. And you could be on whatever side you want. You could be on the left and say it's because we don't want to. I don't care about that. Politics aside, because Bitcoin is actually not political. It's apolitical. And that's what I love about it. But the government that's supposed to print money, and give us that in God we trust, in the US dollar we trust, is again in 10 years, I think that I've seen 6 looming shutdowns and then a couple of weeks of shutdown, and then everybody gets back together and we figure out. But what happens every time? We just spend more freaking money. We're about to hit $1 trillion budget for the U.S. government. Just that exactly. It's like all the senators are at the strip club. Like that's literally what they're doing, and they're just making it rain on the rest of the country. And guess who pays for it? The guys. If you had $100,000 in cash in an index fund, if you're making even like 2 to 4%, you lost money this year already, and you're going to continue to lose money because the amount of money that's being pumped into the economy is offsetting. That's why the US dollar is not weak. And actually, Ed Moy told me this a long time ago. He goes, "It's the cleanest dirty shirt in the dirty laundry hamper." So if you think about the US dollar, the yen, the yuan, the ruble, the euro, whatever it might be, they're all being bastardized. And the US dollar is only the one that kind of like hangs around. And I've always said for 12 years, 13 years, I've been in retirements, alternative retirements. And I've said, man, there's a day, it's coming. There's a day when you have to offset yourself from US dollar denomination and if your whole portfolio is based in US dollars, in 5 years, you're going to be miserable. You have to find alternatives. Gold is great. Silver is great. Bitcoin is great. Ethereum is great. Real estate's great. Land, anything that has a scarcity to it, or at least cannot be just controlled by a government that turns off every November because they can't agree on the budget. Like that's. I actually was quoted in Wall Street Journal saying, I think the American people have become fatigued off of this. We've seen it so many times, and it's like, oh, what does it mean? I have family over from Colorado right now here in Scottsdale, and they're all asking me like, what does this government shutdown mean? I'm like, this is the 10th time I've seen it in my adult life, and what it means is they can't agree, and we all suffer as American people. We all suffer because they're going to agree at some point, and it's not. They're never going to cut the budget. They haven't cut the budget in my lifetime. They're not going to cut the budget in my entire lifetime. It's going to be more money spent, more money created, and that's why I like scarcity. So. Sorry for that tangent, but that's how I feel awesome about what's going on right now, man.
I mean, you're singing my song here. Just like, this is why I'm so like, as is said, it's not red versus blue. It's the state versus you. It doesn't matter because we've seen this. It's
orange versus green.
That's a great way. That's a great way to put it. It is orange versus green because it doesn't matter. Again, in the last, I'm very anti-war, and a big reason I'm anti-war is because they just print money, and it doesn't matter who controls the House or which party's in power. It doesn't matter.
Industrial complex, right? Yep.
There has been a military budget increase every year since 9/11, every year, and it doesn't matter who, red, blue, whoever controls it. They keep printing, and they keep.
You can go past 9/11. You can go all the way to 1932. That's how far back you can go. We have been spending more on either starting wars, defending our nation, or otherwise for now almost 100 years.
Yeah. And getting back to why I think I just read this thing. One of the things what makes Bitcoin, I think, so unique, and why I saw a lot of traditional investor companies who were maybe like 8-9 years ago, like, Bitcoin, I don't get it. It's a Ponzi. They realize the single biggest thing is the longtime holder. They're like, when there'd be these big pullbacks in the markets and they'd see this massive group of people not selling, they're not selling. And
they're resistant.
I think
the resistance are hodlers, baby. They're my favorites. I'm a hodler too. And in fact, it's a funny story, Graham, when that market we were talking about from Thanksgiving to Christmas, when it went from 7,000 to 20,000 and then went back to 65, my CEO and my co-founder called me. He goes, Are we done? Like, did everybody run away? And I'm like, no, they held. And in fact, they bought more because they believe. There's a belief in, I can buy something it's a discount, right? Like, just like you were just saying, we hit 126 on Sunday evening, which is a new all-time high, or Monday morning. It depends on where you're at, right? Yeah. So somewhere between Sunday and Monday, we hit all-time highs. We're back down to 120. Hold on, let me look at my block. 122,780 right now. So you're basically buying a discount, and that's where dollar cost averaging comes in. I think one of the things that you probably run into when you talk to people is like, well, I can't afford a whole Bitcoin, or or I missed out. Like, no, dude, it's never too late. It's never too early to buy Bitcoin, in my opinion. I DCA every day. I bought $30 of Bitcoin today. I've been buying $30 of Bitcoin for years, every single day. And it's just my policy. And sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, whatever it might be. But I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have $120,000 to buy Bitcoin. You don't need 100. You can buy 10 cents worth of Bitcoin right now, anywhere on the planet.
I mean, one of those IRAs I had was just like a $5,000 IRA that like an accountant told me to put into 1 year. And I was just like, I put 2,500 into it 2 years in a row or something. And I just was sitting there and I jumped that over to you guys. And now it's worth 20K or something like that. Like it's
Exactly.
it's 4X. And so that, and I just read this statistic that they put out one of those like Bitcoin accounts on Twitter. I forget which one, but they were putting a percentage because you can look at the wallets. It's all on chain. It's all transparent. Who are the biggest holders as a group of Bitcoin? And I thought, oh, it would be MicroStrategy. It'd be the United States government. No. Retail investors collectively
retail.
They own it. It's guys like me. It's guys like you. It's somebody that just buys $30 of it. Somebody who has bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and they're just sitting on it. And that's the group that does not sell. I mean, a little percentage of them, like of course, whenever you hit an all-time high, everyone's in profit. So some people are going to liquidate.
Panic sellers too. That say they came in at right before Trump got elected. It was like 67,000 last year around this time, and they see the gains and they see the drop. So you have a little bit of everything. But back in 2018, I was quoted with Bloomberg saying it is the people's currency. Bitcoin is the people's currency. And that makes me feel so good to be a part of this. Because just so you know, Bitcoin IRA, our mission is to help more Americans retire. We're in a retirement crisis in this country. You can ask anybody, right? I mean, how many people in your Rolodex are ready for retirement? I'm 40 years old and I'm still wondering if I'm ready for retirement. And I've been really successful in my life. And so have you, because how expensive are things going to get? The median house price is $420,000 nowadays. Eggs or whatever, it's not just those things. If you look at it in terms of price of Bitcoin, it changes the whole narrative. But if you ask, I think Northwest Mutual did this study 2018 or 19, right before COVID. They asked like 20,000 Americans, how much money do you think you need to retire comfortably? And the number was about $550,000. So fast forward 5 years after COVID, after all the money printing, et cetera. And you tell me, Graham, what do you think the number was for those same people? Went from 550, where do you think they were at 5 years later?
At least $1 million.
1.8.
Yep. That doesn't surprise me at all. And I think that's the thing I tell people when I go, they're like, when they say that, I don't have 120K. I can't buy a full one. I go, just buy whatever you buy, a little bit of it. Yeah. Because I go, if you stack up and let's say you get 10%, you can stack up 10% of a Bitcoin by just being smart and hustling and dollar cost averaging and taking a little bit of and moving maybe whatever little savings or whatever and put it in there. I go, if because of the scarcity and because of the stuff that you and I know, but what I explain to people, I go, there's trillions of dollars in other investments that's going to come into Bitcoin. And I said, Bitcoin and experts, not wingnut YouTuber guys.
I'm not crazy. I promise you, I'm a pretty normal guy. I know. I mean, it's facts, not feelings. It's facts.
Math.
That's all that's happening is facts.
And when I tell people, I go, there's a lot of people predicting it's going to be close to $10 million in the next 15 to 20 years. So if you have 10% of a Bitcoin, that's $1 million. I mean, that's the price of it. And again, the crisis. I checked. My financial advisor asked me because I'm in my 50s, and I checked my Social Security, and it's like I'm gonna get, if I retire at 65, I think it's $1,300 a month. If I retire at 70, it's $1,700 a month.
So, well, I'm really happy for you, Graham, because I'm not seeing any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 40. There's no way that it's already almost insolvent. We already had this conversation earlier last year about where's Social Security going to be at, and that's what most people are kind of leaning on. Also, they're leaning on 401ks, which is a great aggregator, right? So I put money in, my business puts money in. And also a lot of people forget that they can, if you leave your job, which is common nowadays, like we're not our grandfather's economy where we stay with the same company for 40 years and then get the gold watch and retire. People are moving around. A lot of people forget that you don't leave your 401k behind. I always say it's like your favorite hoodie, leaving it behind at your ex-girlfriend's house. Like, that's silly, right? You bring that with you, right? And so you have people with 401ks, 403bs, if you're a nurse or a teacher, thank you. 457s, firemen, police officers, thank you. TSPs, thrift savings plans as a government official or a soldier. Again, thank you. You've earned all this money. You don't have to leave it there if you've left being a soldier, left being a teacher, left doing these things. You can roll those over into a self-directed IRA like Bitcoin IRA. It doesn't mean you have to do it all in Bitcoin. We have 85 different coins, which I was going to ask you, Graham. I mean, obviously, we've been talking a lot about Bitcoin. Are you a maxi, or do you dabble in the other coins? Oh, so you're a maxi. Okay.
I'm a maxi. I did the sort of typical. I got into a lot of crypto and a lot of different coins, and I did a little bit of that. Like, I'm going to try to, time the markets,
crazy,
and
right? It gets nuts.
And I didn't like that. Was crazy. And then I had in Max Kaiser, who I had been following his show on RT. I watched a lot of RT shows.
He's awesome. I met him in 2018. He's an amazing guy. He's great. And I'd been following his show, and I watched a lot of shows on RT. I was on some shows on RT, and so I really liked his approach, and he was so critical of the corrupt Wall Street banking system because he worked in Wall Street. And he really called those guys out after 08. I lost my home in 2010 as a result of that corruption. It's one of the reasons I was like, I'm so anti two-party system and all that. And I got into Bitcoin around 2019, didn't really understand it the first year because I was being paid in another cryptocurrency on this platform, Rockfin, where one of the streamings we're on right now. And they put all their coins into a wallet. I wasn't paying attention. The price went up, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute now. This is real. And then COVID hit, and I was like, I need to figure this Bitcoin stuff out. And I started really learning about it because I was like, they're going to print money. I know it's coming now. I went through this in 08, and I wasn't prepared in 08. I didn't understand anything in 08, but now I'm more educated. And so I started really buying up Bitcoin when it was 9,000-10,000 and like really getting into it, started watching. And that's when Michael Saylor came on the scene, and he made a lot of sense. And I was watching a lot of Kaiser. He came on my show in April of 2021 and really told me how a lot of the altcoins, they're not decentralized. I mean, you can invest in them and make money just like a stock. That's great if you want to do that. But I was like, the fundamental is different. The fundamental is different. Yeah. It's that scarcity. And I do the same thing. And that's why we offer it, by the way. So Bitcoin IRA is our name because we're so OG. There was only Bitcoin back then when we first started. That's how old school we are. In 2017, we launched Ethereum, and we were the first to do it. It was $40 in Ethereum at that point in time. Mm-hmm. Later that year in August, we did Litecoin, XRP, and we supported the Bitcoin Cash fork, the hard fork that happened way back then. So we've been through kind of the gauntlet. The thing that we hear is, you listen, any entrepreneur, you listen to your clients. If they want SUI, if they want Ondo, if they want Link, if they want these things, it's all the same benefit too. At the end of the day, if I grabbed up some SUI or some Ondo 2 years ago at pennies and now it's in dollars, that's a huge gain, right? Yeah. And so use it with the tax advantage setting. I hold all 85 coins that we have because I'm a tester, right? I don't hold a lot of all of them. Most of my stuff is in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'm a little heavy in XRP, to be honest with the audience. I'm a little heavy right now. I'm curious to see what happens. I thought Swift, but there's also Chainlink that's happening right now. These are games that you can play, but at the end of the day, what do I do with all my winnings? Move it into Bitcoin. That's always what I do. Like whenever I don't sell off the dirty dollars, I swap out, and you can do this on our platform, which is beautiful. You can actually take, okay, my Ethereum hit 6,000. I'm happy. I want to roll it into something. Why would I go to dollars? That lost 10% of its value this year already, maybe more by the end of the year. So I swap into more Bitcoin, and you can do that. But one of the things that's kind of cool about some of those other coins is you can make yield off of them too. Staking. You can make you can stake your assets within our platform. You can make upwards of like 6 to 7%. We're working on some stablecoin solutions. We're working on some XRP, LTC, BTC yield solutions for the year, for next year, for 2026. Because at the end of the day, people are. I believe in the hodlers. I'm a hodler, right? But we also have to put our money to work too. Like your money has to work for you. We always talk about that. And with Bitcoin prices running like they are, it's already working for us. But who doesn't want to stack more Bitcoin, right? Who doesn't want to get more Satoshis every single day is my ultimate goal.
Yeah, and I and that's cool, and I appreciate you being, transparent about that. I think, yeah, I mean, that's something, if anyone out there is like, well, I own these other coins, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of a Bitcoin max, but I'm not sure. Move the other coins into some type of IRA or whatever. Mm-hmm. I love that, like, the bulk of my Bitcoin is in cold storage, but some of it is with you guys, and I just like that's there, and I like
how that works. Cold storage with us too, Graham. You know that, right? Like you have your ledger, but the way we built the program is I call it the Pentagon of custody, and it's we work with BitGo as I kind of consider them the Brinks of the industry, and so we're working with multi-signature. It's obfuscated, it's geographically dispersed. There's all these layers of things. Mm-hmm. And we were the first to do this. I remember when I went to my trust custodian at the time, this was back in 2015, and was like, hey, I'm going to do Bitcoin in an IRA. And they're like, no, you're not. And I was like, okay. I waited 6 months. And then they didn't give me an answer. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for forgiveness instead of permission. And sure enough, it worked out, right? But at the time, it was so uncomfortable for people to understand. But we started with our pretense from the very beginning was security. So I know that there's a common feeling, and I have it too, is not my keys, not my crypto. The world's shifting. And one of the reasons why I love, like, I have my non-IRA money with Bitcoin IRA too. You can open up a non-IRA account as well with us. Is that, say I'm leaving on Friday to go to New York, then I'm going to Nashville, then I'm going to Atlanta. I'm on a 3-city tour for the next 2.5 weeks. Say something bad happens. Knock on wood, nothing bad happens, but just say something bad happens. I know that my wife and my daughter don't have to figure out, they don't have to go in my desk over here, grab the ledger, figure out what the seed phrase, etc. All they have to do is call Bitcoin IRA and give them the death certificate, and now the beneficiaries are set up. So the money moves smoothly without any issues. And I think that's something that we have to start thinking about as far as how is Bitcoin going to go mainstream. Because most people, Graham, you're a smart guy. I'm a smart guy. I can figure out a ledger. I've created hundreds of ledgers over the years. But the real world is about streamlined use case, right? It's about ease of use.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to build our program around. Was the front end is a beautiful UX. You can buy, sell, trade 24/7. But behind the scenes, your assets are nowhere near the login that you have also. That's a beautiful thing. It's like if say you're logging into Bitcoin IRA and we all got SIM swapped. I've been SIM swapped. We've all been SIM swapped, or our emails have been hacked, and somebody gets access to things they shouldn't get access to. They're not draining your account. They can't drain your account because it's back end in cold storage. Mm-hmm. It requires all these layers of security in order for you to move your crypto or control your crypto. And that's how we got to Lloyd's of London and Chubb giving us up to $250 million of insurance per wallet. Back when we started this, insuring crypto in a wallet did not exist. We had to prove that the system protected people from us and protected people from themselves as well. You're your greatest weakness when it comes to personal security. Whether it's, I don't know about you, Graham, but one of the things I do is my debit card on my checking account, I never put more than 1 month's worth of bills in that account. Yeah. Everything else sits behind it, because if something happens to that debit card, which constantly happens, right? It's always something's going on. And I try to actually pay as many of my bills through my credit card to get the miles or the points and then pay off those. These are strategies we've had to create as Americans, or even US or beyond Americans, to protect ourselves from unscrupulous actors against malfeasance always. And so we actually dedicate 32%, just under a third of our annual hours of, I guess, what you call roadmap. So you have to build your roadmap as a technology company. 32% goes strictly to security constantly. And that's for 10 years. So if you think about how much time we spent on security and building out the security, yes, it's not my keys, not my crypto, but there are ways for you to control those keys. Like, you control your Bitcoin at the end of the day. With an IRA or anything else, you also have to remember the government gives you that advantage, right? You move those Bitcoins over to an IRA. You get to trade all day and not pay capital gains taxes. You don't get that that advantage when you're in a Coinbase, Kraken, wherever you're at with your exchange or your ledger. So it's a give and take in this process, but we're really focused on that. I would say, I know that I don't want to go too long. I'm sure that you might have some questions from the audience and things, but the other thing I would tell you is one of the things we did differently than everybody else in this industry, we stuck with real crypto, real people. So you can call our phone number. I've memorized it over the years. You can call our phone number and you can talk to a real human being, not a robot, not a chat bot, not an AI, but like a real human being. I have a team of people that have been helping over 200,000 people open their retirement accounts. We're up to $14 billion with a B of assets under custody. And you can call at any time. Do you want to give them the number, Graham, or do you want to put it in the notes?
Yeah, you give it because I've called it and I get a real person and they've walked me through.
It's amazing, right? I test it every morning. I test it every morning. I was like, so it's 877-936-7175. And Monday through Friday, so often on Saturdays, you can call and talk to an expert at what we do. And within about, you go through the greeting and then you click 1 or 2, you're there. You're talking to a real human being.
So it's said again, 877-936
7175.
7175. I'm putting that in the chat right now.
And remember, one thing, just so if people call or use the link that Graham, thank you so much for having me, Graham, today. But if you join, we are extending our Summer of Freedom. We had the Summer of Freedom campaign that happened. We were giving up to $1,000 of rewards for opening your account over the summer. For your listeners, make sure if you talk to somebody, say that they heard you from this podcast, and we will extend that up to $1,000 reward for your audience. So I hope that's okay with you.
That's totally okay with me, guys. You hear that? So call that number. Call now. I feel and say you heard.
It's 5:42 on the West Coast. You might want to call in the morning if that's okay, because it's after business hours.
So write the number down. Call and during regular business hours and say you heard. Chris, you heard about the Bitcoin IRA on my show, Graham Elwood, the Bitcoin Vigilante, and this is a great thing. And I really I like this product, and you've also, and I've researched it a lot, but you've given me some clarification on how it is a cold storage with you guys, and it's multi-signature. And one of the things I do like, I don't have kids, but I've got 6 nieces and nephews, and whenever I go, I want them, again, not to be shuffling through some safety deposit box, looking at words or whatever. I want them to be given this. And so one question I have, so if somebody has Bitcoin on some other wallet, can they just move it over to Bitcoin IRA and turn it into an IRA, or how does that work?
So thank you, the U.S. government. This is not my rule.
They're here to protect
we talked about
us,
them earlier. So the way the U.S. government, the rules for an IRA, whether it's you're buying real estate or otherwise, you have to put a contribution in U.S. dollars, and your contribution limits are, if you're under 50, $7,500, if you're over 50, $8,000. So what your best bet is, if you're holding a couple Bitcoin, congratulations, you're thrilled right now. You're about $250,000. If you want to chisel a little bit of that out, sell it off, and then put that in an IRA, and then turn around and buy more Bitcoin from that contribution. But that's kind of how IRAs work, is you have to contribute in US dollars and then buy the asset you're looking for. Now, if you are an IRA holder, so let's say, by the way, the deadline's coming up for taxes on the 16th, 15th, for those of us that pay taxes. April 15th is for those of us that get, most of us get, well, some of us, it depends on who you are. Sometimes you get a refund, sometimes you have to pay, right? My tax attorney told me best is like, if you're paying, that means you're doing well, right? So we all pay in October, but before the end of the year and before next April, you have the ability to do this year and next year. So that's up to $16,000 a contribution for a retirement account. I highly recommend, because it doesn't reset every year. You can't go backwards. You can't say, oh, I want to do my contributions for the last 10 years. You have to do it every year on time or by the deadline. Put that aside. And then once you're an IRA client of ours, we have a non-IRA solution for you. We don't take, and this is just the way that we operate, because there's a lot of people out there that will send a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know, but we have a robust know your customer and AML policy, because we have to, as an IRS approved custodian, we have to do these things. But once you're an actual client, if you have those 2 Bitcoins sitting somewhere that you're like, you know what, I got my nieces and nephews or my wife and my child or otherwise, we can move those things in kind over. And we have a robust process to do that. We're going to whitelist your wallet address. We're going to take a look at it. You're going to send a micro test. We're going to confirm the micro test. And we're going to send a little bit more. But we're not going to just say, hey, send us 2 Bitcoin tomorrow, right? It's just like, I wouldn't say, send me $250,000 to this wallet address tomorrow, right? Like that's you're dealing with legit players of understanding over 12, now 10 years of understanding how delicate the Bitcoin process is, and we're trying to make it as easy for you and your clients as possible and your audience as possible. But yes, we can do those things outside of the IRA. But the ultimate goal, and why we push you, is this is the only place you can get a tax advantaged solution for your crypto investing.
Yep. And that's great. That's why, my accountant pushed me into the IRA years ago just for the tax thing. And then I knew the value of it from a tax standpoint, just of the IRA. So when I saw you guys and I started researching it, I was like, okay, this is I really like it. Well, Chris, and again, folks, there's the number. Call them tomorrow and tell them you heard about this on my show. But I really,
any critical questions from the audience? I can't see. But is there any big questions from the audience today? I always like to answer.
Somebody wrote here, Concern wrote, it's so surrealistic watching you guys talk about Bitcoin while I'm playing a Jefferson Airplane song, White Rabbit, live at Woodstock 1969. The times they must be crazy. Yes, we are.
I love that. I love that.
I don't know. There was one of them was just like, what's going on with Senators Tina Smith and Chris Murphy. There was a meeting tonight with Citizens for Financial Freedom. Boy, I don't know.
Well, if you want to follow me on X, by the way, I'm at Senator Kline. I know it's so fun. I made it in 2009 when I was in college because I was convinced I was going to be a senator. And then when I got out of college, I worked on a political campaign, fundraising, and other things. And I realized I was convinced that I do not want to be involved in politics.
Yeah.
And that's why I pivoted over. It's a cesspool. It's nasty. It's gross. Our founding fathers always said, you're supposed to go do what you do great and then go be a politician. And the whole world has shifted. So, but if you want to follow at Senator Kline, at Bitcoin IRA, you can call the number. I think there's a little QR code in the top if you want to scan that as well. So thank you, Graham, for having me. Thanks for the audience for listening. And we're here for you. Any questions you have? I hope I came across as a pretty real guy. Like I don't try to shill the product. I just like to talk about Bitcoin.
I love it, dude. That's why I wanted to have you on, because I'm like, I'd seen you on some Bloomberg stuff. I was like, oh, this guy's a Bitcoiner. This is a Bitcoin guy. Like, and I love the mentality of the Bitcoiner, the hope that it has, the solutions. It's all about finding solutions. Like I was like, where's a problem? Bitcoin can come in and find a solution to it. And I like that forward thinking. And I just like, again, I see what's happening with the dollar. So it's my purchasing power goes down and down and down with the dollar, and my purchasing power with Bitcoin goes up and up and up. I mean, it's just that's the way it is. So thank you so much, Chris, for coming on the show, brother. We really appreciate it, and we'll have you on again. And I'm starting to go to more of the Bitcoin conferences, so hopefully we'll see you out in the wild.
Absolutely. And enjoy your Airbnb and your vacation, buddy. I guess you're on vacation, so go enjoy yourself.
Thank you, my friend. All right. Chris Kline, everybody, Bitcoin IRA. Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All righty. So guys, that's why, I know some of you are like, Graham, because this is the greatest opportunity for regular people to acquire wealth. And I've been saying this for 5-6 years now on this show. This is the greatest opportunity for you to acquire wealth. And here's a traditional product you're comfortable with. If you're an American, you know what an IRA is. You maybe already have one. You can move it over to these guys and just watch it go. Just watch it go. And because a retirement account is something you just kind of put over and don't worry about it until you need it. You put money in it every year. And that's what Bitcoin hodling is. That's what we do. So, I really appreciate Chris coming on the show, and I appreciate you guys. So true. Everyone who Graham has on the show seems so authentically excited about it. It's authentic. And I'm if you watch the interviews I've posted with different people, and a lot of them have way different political views than me, but we all agree that Bitcoin is a solution for things. And that's what's exciting to me. I still have reservations based on what the government might do to outlaw Bitcoin so that Bitcoin, or whatever they call it, CBDC, can take over. Thoughts on that? Great question. So that's the central banking digital currency. That's the USDC, which is what's called a stable coin, meaning it doesn't fluctuate in price. One US digital dollar is the same as a regular dollar. And that's why many of us are big advocates on cold storage, on having Bitcoin in cold storage. The USDC is a digital currency that is centralized. Bitcoin is decentralized. And that's why I was glad Chris clarified that that my Bitcoin IRA is in cold storage, and it's multi-signature. So that's why I would say buy some Bitcoin and put it into a cold wallet. And if you don't understand cold wallet, there's a lot of good videos out there on how to move it to cold storage. And again, I always tell people, if you're new into Bitcoin, I didn't get it at first. I got a little bit of it, and I started to just educate myself more and more and more and more and more. So don't feel bad if you don't get it at first. I'm not a tech or finance guy. That's not my specialty. I'm a comedian. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a creative person. But the more I studied it, the more I learned it, the more I understand it, and the more I see the value in it. So first thing I would do, I would read the Bitcoin white paper, and then start, find an exchange that you're comfortable with, and start buying a little bit of it, buy $10 of it, see how that feels, and then start learning how to move it into a cold wallet and just test a little amount, move $1.50 worth over to the cold wallet, go through that process, because it is a little like crazy at first, the first time you do it, and just get more and more comfortable with that. So that's what I would recommend. But thanks everybody for watching and tuning in. And thank you again to Chris Kline for taking time to come on the show. He's a very busy man running a company that is, what did he say, $14 billion under asset. And so that's the other thing too. While as more institutional products are coming in, some people in the Bitcoin space are like, yeah, I don't want the government to make us all have to use things in the digital, the USDC, because they could control that. They could say, oh, you were at a protest. You were protesting the government. We don't like that. We're taking away your USDC, which is, again, why keeping Bitcoin in cold storage is a good idea. But the more institutional money that comes into it, the less likely the government is going to. You can't shut down Bitcoin. It's run on computers, millions of them all over the planet. So, and people say, what if there's an electromagnetic pulse or something like that? Well, then we have bigger problems. Then we're all in. Then if the grid and everything goes down, then we're all having real problems. Like refrigerators stop working. Hospitals are going to have a real hard time. Like it's going to be bigger issues. So, yeah, I would just, just start studying it more. Just start getting more knowledge about it, and go to the Bitcoin IRA website. Compare and contrast. I shopped around. Swan Bitcoin, and I know the Swan guys. I like what they're doing. I've interviewed them, but look at these products and see which one makes sense the most for you, and a bunch of exchanges have deals, and like Chris said, if you call the number and, you can get free Bitcoin for as much as you move over from watching the show from that phone number I put up. So good advice. I'm glad you guys are. Yeah, there's the number again. And if you call Bitcoin IRA during business hours in the States tomorrow, you'll get a real person. And they are every person I've ever called over, they're very knowledgeable, and they really walk you through it. They understand that a lot of people are like, what's this Bitcoin IRA? They're well trained at how to sort of hold your hand through the process, which I really liked. And call them, ask all these questions. There's no dumb questions. They're happy to answer them. And, like I said, I just tested it out. I had 2 IRAs and I put a little small one into this one just to see. And I felt the whole process, the people I talked to on the phone, there was some paperwork because I had to move it over and I was like, what's happening? What's going on? They helped me. They really because I was worried something, and they were like, no, we'll take care. We talked to this. We filled out this form because you had to get it from the other financial institution. And so, yeah, I'd recommend that. Anyway, a trip of 1,000 miles begins, but with the single step. Exactly. Well, that's our show, everybody. I really appreciate Chris coming on the show. I appreciate all of you. And, just there it is. Call that number and just ask them questions. Get more questions answered. Get more knowledge. That's what this show is about. As I learn more stuff, I try to pass it along to you guys. So somebody recently on Instagram said, Graham, I learned about Fred Hampton from watching your show. And I was like, that warmed my heart. Because when I learned about Fred Hampton, I was like, how come that wasn't taught to me in schools? So, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, share this out on your social media. And I will keep this live chat up for free on all of the platforms. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night. And we will be live again. I think we're going tomorrow, same time. Yeah, tomorrow we will be live at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. So tune in tomorrow. We'll be talking about all the subjects of the day, Bitcoin price, what's happening in politics in America and whatever else. We'll tune in. So tune in tomorrow. Like, share, subscribe. Follow the Money Connected Dots. Get the truth. Buy Bitcoin, stack sats. That's not financial advice. I'm not a paid financial advisor. Chris is. He can't say those things. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody in the chat. And shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.